John Lord here, and we're going to look at a few woodland plants. And this is our little wood here, and two trees we have are Scots pine and silver birch. We'd probably, in the winter time, we'll remove some of the lower branches, let more light in. And the thing about woodland plants is a woodland is generally a very dry situation because trees are suck out the moisture. So they're generally plants that like dry conditions. Now, funnily enough, most ferns like dry conditions. People think of ferns as plants for damp conditions. Now, while there are ferns that will grow in boggy situations, the majority of ferns like the soil to be dry. Now, woodland, while the soil is dry, the atmosphere can often be quite damp. It can be sort of humid, so because of the moisture surrounding the trees. So they have dry here, dry in the ground, and sort of moisture around them. And this fern here is called Polypodium. It's native to Ireland, and it's actually a fern which is also an epiphyte. It will actually grow in the clefts of tree branches. So it doesn't need a lot of soil. Of course, you can have macrophylla, hydrangeas in a wood situation, but once they're in the part of the wood which gets a bit more moisture, because they like the shade. We have this Japanese maple, and they are woodland plants of woodland edges, so they're nice in the wood. And a very good ground cover is this geranium. That's Geranium macrorrhizum. It's evergreen. Now, it doesn't flower for a particularly long period of time, so you'd never have it in your garden in a little bed where you need a lot of colour for a long time. But it's ideal here. See the way it forms a lovely carpet. Now, what's interesting about this is I have a weed here, and we'll remove the weed. And it's creeping buttercup, which it's a native plant, buttercup. And see how similar the foliage of the buttercup is to the geranium. And that's what happens when you're gardening a long time. You get to be able to tell the difference. Now, if a lot of times people don't notice the buttercup there because it looks so similar, except when it flowers. Flowers, the buttercup are yellow, so people come to me and say, I have a Geranium macrorrhizum, which meant to have pink flowers, and the flowers are yellow. But it's not the geranium, of course, it's the buttercup. Here we are. Is that it again? Yep, that's the creeping buttercup again. Get some out. Oh, there's a lot of it. We'll get more of it here. And I'll just show you why it's called the creeping buttercup. Because it creeps. That's the original place it rooted, and then it sends along stems, and the stems root like here, and then you get more and it forms a big carpet. So once you know, that's the creeping buttercup gone. Now here's the more traditional fern over here. That is Dryopteris. That's the another native fern. That's the male fern. Very, very good fern. Evergreen again. And we have another geranium. This is Geranium phaeum. It has black flowers. It has lovely markings on the foliage. Now, what I do with that after it flowers, I tidy it up, and it's not 100% evergreen, but it's more or less evergreen. What else have we got? Go through, we see. We have Woodrush, a type of a grass. It's called Woodrush. It's Luzula. That's Luzula nivea. That's a flower rush. Very nice in spring, very easy. And we have an interesting plant over here, and it's not actually a woodland plant. Go through the geranium. It's London Pride. It's doing okay here. It doesn't like the needles falling down from the pine tree, but that's probably not a particularly good woodland plant, but it's doing okay. It's an interesting plant. There's two interesting plants over here. This is a Bergenia. As some people call it elephant's ears. I've never liked them. I've always found them difficult. The foliage going a bit tatty. And except in this situation here. Now we have a pine tree. And pines are notorious for sucking all the water out, so it's generally bone dry under a pine. And the Bergenia is absolutely thriving. So I've learned about Bergenias. Put them in the driest possible part of the garden. Now it does get sun as well. You wouldn't put that in a particularly shady spot, but look how good it is. And beside it, we have another plant called Astelia. Grassy-like plant. Now Astelias will tolerate shade and they will tolerate very dry conditions. Now you can see the problem with pines. If you have pine trees, they have a habit of producing loads of needles. And like that, you see? And I think the pines use that as a weapon to keep other plants at bay. You sort of use it as sort of a mulch, a weed-killing mulch. And that's the problem with pine trees. Here's a very good plant for the woodland. And it's one of these plants that a lot of people can have trouble with. And if you get it right, really, really good. It's a hybrid Helleborus. Helleborus hybridus, or sometimes it's called Helleborus orientalis, and this is actually a double form. Now I find what they like, lots of organic matter from the trees around them, and not mucky soil splashing up in them, because that can bring in disease. What you do with them, there's two ways of dealing with them. They're going to flower in the spring. Now if I was brave, I would get clippers and I would clip them right down to the ground, and they would flower on the bare without any leaves to obscure the flowers. But I haven't that nerve, so what we tend to do is go through them individually and remove, you can see, remove all leaves. And here we have a plant that's not even here. It's a dicentra, one of the ground cover dicentras. Now it flowers very early, but it sort of has a bit of a rest later on in the season. It dies down completely. You can see the little buds here. It's got fleshy roots, very easy plant to grow once it's not too damp. And we look at a plant which is a very good woodlander, but we generally don't want it. Well, actually we have two. We have blackberry, which we don't want. Blackberry bush, they'll always take over if you let them. And we have ivy. Now, people ask me, what do you do with ivy? How do I get rid of it? Well, it's very simple. Ivy, very, very simple. You just have to get down on your hands and knees and pull the ivy out. There's no other way. No point in using weed killers, because the weed killers will kill everything else before it kills the ivy. Ivy is very resistant to weed killers, so you have to use quite a lot, and it would just kill everything. So you really, it's the winter job. It's a bit early. In the winter time, a lot of stuff dies down. The ivy doesn't die down, and it becomes more obvious. And you go around and you just work your way through like this. Very therapeutic. Well, the ivy's going up through that birch tree. I might leave it there for another year, and then I'll cut it at the base and it will all die up the whole way up. But it's always more of a problem, ivy, in the ground, because it will, over time, will take over. Ivy always wins, because ivy plays a long game, so you always have to keep ivy under control. That's it.